Y muy buenas noches, mis amigos, mis estudiantes. Quiero hablar sobre infinitive verb phrases. Esto es el próximo examen, our next exam, over infinitive verb phrases, frases de verbos infinitivos, or con mi abreviación, IVP, infinitive verb phrases. Let's take a look. 6 de estos. Primero, deber. Y deber significa should, ought to. Necesitar, to need, querer, which remember, es un stem changer, E-A. That means to want. Y también poder, which is stem changer, O-A-U-A, can, or to be able. And we should know how to conjugate these. We'll look at them in just a minute. También. We have to pair those with the verbo infinitivo. That's how they become a verb infinitive phrase. So you use deber, should or ought to, necesitar, to need, querer, to want, poder, can/to be able. Let's try some ejemplos. Let's see what we are doing. We need to go deber y infinitivo. Querer, y infinitivo, poder, y infinitivo, y también necesitar. You pair these up with an infinitive verb. You conjugate this verb. You leave infinitive, the second verb. If we looked at just un clásico, I need to study. This is what el examen will be about. That would be yo necesito. Conjugate the first verb. Necesitar means to need, I need. And then to study, we just leave it the same as it is, estudiar. So we did a lot of práctica ayer en la clase sobre how to formar estos tipos de frases de verbos infinitivos. Let's look at, I know you can conjugate deber y necesitar. There's verbos básicos. Una vez más, let's look at querer. No, it's A-I-E-A. That's a stem changer. It means in the infinitive verb, when you conjugate it, the E right there changes to I-E. Let's look at las formas. Look at the forma de yo. Quiero. Notice how the letra A, right, is I-E. This letter E becomes I-E. That's the change. Tú quieres. Él quiere. Lo siento para otro color. But in the forma de nosotros, we go back to the infinitive form of this. Queremos. Not the vosotros. And then we go back to the conjugated form with the stem change, where as you can see, the E is now taken over by an IE right there. Let's look at las formas de poder también. Es otro cambio radical. That's how you say stem change in español, cambio radical. Poder. Poder es verbo O-A-U-A, and that means everywhere but nosotros. Remember the concept of a boot verb. La letra O switches to ue. So let's look at las formas de poder. Puedo, that means I can. Puedes is the to form, you can. Puede is the la usted. But to the nosotros, there is no stem change. Podemos. Y ellos, ustedes, lo siento, pueden. Con ue, es letra ue, lo siento. So, do we know how to conjugate the four of those? Deber, querer, necesitar, poder. Do we know what they mean? And can we form those? Let's try rápidamente algunos ejemplos, like she should study. Well, this is easy. Study is estudiar. We have to remember to leave it in the infinitive. But do we know the verb for should? I'll give you un segundo de considerar. A verbo for should, deber. What's the LA usted form? Ella debe estudiar. Anytime you want to pause, pausar, to consider a question, and then you can come back and find the answer, la respuesta. Let's try otro, one for each. They can visit. El verbo to visit is visitar. Remember, we leave that in the infinitive form. But what's the they can? What's the infinitive verb can or to be able? Poder. What's the ellos form of poder? Ellos pueden. So they can visit is ellos pueden visitar. Necesitar. El verbo necesitar. You, and we seem to struggle, familiar singular, you know you'll see this on the test, that equals the to form. You need to listen. Are we going to be able to tell the difference between tu, usted, ustedes? You're going to see it, the you familiar singular, and know it's two. You formal singular, usted. You plural, ustedes. So you familiar singular need to listen is the to form of necesitar. Necesitas escuchar. And was there one more? Querer. Let's querer. We want to go. Well, this is interesante because want is a stem change verb, querer, but in the nosotros form, we don't make a stem change, so it would be queremos ir. And there's two more, dos más frases de verbos infinitivos. I call them formulas de conversación, conversational formulas. I call it TQE, tener que infinitivo, which equals to have to do something. And ir a infinitivo, abbreviación IAI, to be going to do something. And you've got, they're different than the other ones because we have to add something, right? The a and the que. So let's try dos ejemplos. Let's start with the first one. She has to study. Remember, it's tener plus que plus infinitivo, so infinitivos to study is estudiar. And the ella form of tener is, hopefully you remember how to conjugate that, ella tiene. But the part that doesn't have a translation in English is que. Ella tiene que estar. Muy bien. Now let's go to el último, called ir a infinitivo. Ir plus a plus infinitivo. And that means to be going to do something. So let's say they are going to read. That would be again, infinitivo. So what's the infinitivo to read? Leer. So I know that's the last part. But they are going to, we need a form of ir. The they form is van. Ellos van. And then remember, it's a. Bring it down. Van a leer. They are going to read. Now, so we have todos los ejemplos. I'm going to write out very clearly so you can see otra vez. Let's use the conjugated forms of tener. And their yo form, tengo, right? So you have this. Tienes, tiene, tenemos, y tienen. And then we use a form of que, and then the infinitive verb. I have to study, tengo que estudiar. She has to listen, tiene que escuchar. Y el último, because I can't make too much longer, ir, conjugated form, voy, vas, va, vamos, y van. And you pair that with ir a infinitivo. I'm going to study, voy a estudiar. I might make another one, voy a hacer otro, but we're at el límite ahora. This gives you un poquito de repaso, a bit of review sobre este concepto de frases de verbos infinitivos, infinitive verb phrases. Muy buenas noches.